Joe Biden is beginning to lose some ground to Donald Trump in key swing states. Now, I'm going to show you some of this data, and I'm also going to explain to you what Joe Biden could do. And it really wouldn't take all that much. 3 key policies that Joe Biden could come out and support that the vast majority of Americans already support, and Biden's support would increase. But of course, both these candidates are influenced mostly by their big donors, which is why Biden will not support these policies and forget about it when it comes to Trump. But I'm going to show you, regardless, what Biden could do if he actually wanted to win. First, though, let me show you some of this data. So this poll came out last week, August 18th. So caveat here, this is a conservative pollster, but I'm going to show you how this is not just an outlier, but in fact, Biden's support has reduced in key swing states. But this is one example. So Arizona, Trump is up by 3 in this poll. Wisconsin is tied. Florida is tied. Pennsylvania, Biden's up by 4. Now, if we get to the Real Clear Politics poll averages, you can see here, this is Wisconsin. Biden's up by 6.5 on average. In Michigan, Biden's up by 6.7 on average. And in Pennsylvania, Biden's up by 5.7 on average. Now, by itself, these numbers look good. You think, hey, Biden's ahead. Looks pretty good, up by several points. Except his support has come down in each of these states. So recently, Biden had been up in Wisconsin here by 8 points. You see there, Biden plus 8. Take a look at Michigan, where he's up by 6.7. He had been up by 7.7 points. And in Pennsylvania, where Biden's up by 5.7, he had been up recently by, I believe, 6 or 7 points. 7 points. 7.4, 8.5 at 1 point. There it is, 8.5 points. So Biden's support has dropped in key swing states. And to make it clear, check out these numbers with Hillary Clinton in 2016 versus Joe Biden now. So Walker Bregman made this comparison on Twitter. Again, Real Clear Politics poll averages, so taking all the polls together, making an average of it, you see Clinton in 2016 was up by 11.5 points in Wisconsin compared to Biden at 6.5. Pennsylvania, Clinton was up by 9.2 compared to Biden, up by 5.7. North Carolina, Clinton was up by 1.7 compared to Trump being up right now, 0.6. Florida's the one outlier here, I believe, with Clinton being up by 3.6, Biden's up by 6.7, by 5 points right now in Florida. Michigan, Clinton was up by 8 points, Biden's up by 6.7, and in Ohio, Clinton was up by 4.8, Biden's up by 2.3. You can't sleep on this election. This is turning into a race. Biden had a massive lead for the obvious reason, the disaster that is the coronavirus, Trump's complete disaster in response to that. I've done a million videos showing you the graph, how the U.S. compares to practically every other country in the world, where you have an insane amount of cases continuing in the U.S. compared to other countries that brought their numbers down. That is a failure of leadership. That is a failure of Donald Trump. And Americans felt that. But for whatever reason, the support's dropping for Joe Biden. And I'm going to show you in a minute here what he could be doing. But first, this is a pretty clear example of, I saw this meme online, and this explains what the Democratic Party does. So the DNC here, you see them excited, focused on the 8% of undecided Republicans, and the 40% of progressives are being ignored. Now, I actually think these numbers don't really give you the full picture. So in much of the polling on Republicans, it's about like 95% of Republican voters support Donald Trump. The people you see that don't support Donald Trump are on television. They're the millionaires. They're the corporate board members. They're people that do well under both parties regardless. And right now they feel like it's uncomfortable in their, their cocktail parties to support Donald Trump. So they're moving to Joe Biden. But regardless, largely they are protected. And that is who the Democratic Party is focused on. Focused on winning, the Joe Scarborough voter. When there is a 40% of progressives in the party that Biden could be chasing after, but even outside of that, there's about 40% of people that don't normally vote. And a large portion of them don't normally vote because they see two parties that don't represent them. So if you have Joe Biden come out and actually support some real policy to help people, then maybe it will excite some of those voters out to come vote for him, as opposed to simply always voting against the other person. So let me show you what Joe Biden could be doing. This from April. So this was from a Harvard Harris X poll. 69% of Americans want Medicare for All, including 46% of Republicans and 88% of Democrats. If I go down here, I believe it's 88%. There we go. 88% Democrats and 68% of independents. So a majority of Democrats and independents want Medicare for All. Almost a majority of Republican voters want Medicare for All, yet still, Joe Biden's not supporting it. And think of how much the government does that doesn't have anywhere near a majority of support. Yet here you have a massive support, a massive majority of people that want Medicare for All, and Joe Biden's rejecting it. Of course, it always goes back to who backs the Biden campaign. Again, much like, or exactly like the GOP, there are donors behind these campaigns, behind these candidates that want a certain agenda. So very rarely do you see them push back against the agenda of their corporate backers. But if Joe Biden were to support Medicare for All, he would get a lot of supporters out. Another one here. This from January. Majority of Americans favor wealth tax on the very rich. Reuters Ipsos poll. And you know why? Because the majority of Americans are not very rich. And there's been multiple polls on this. You can look this up yourself. Look up wealth tax polling. There was a poll on AOC's idea of taxing 70% of any wealth made over 10 million. So not taxing everything at 70%, but taxing any money you make over 10 million, which is how many people is that? But it would be a good chunk of the wealthy. Taxing 70% of any wealth made over $10 million has massive support. Again, because most people don't have over $10 million. But you're not seeing Joe Biden support that or any real wealth tax. This one, another obvious one. 2/3 of Americans support marijuana legalization. And what I find almost comical about this is more people support Medicare for All than support marijuana legalization. So that's how popular Medicare for All is. Because we all know marijuana legalization at this point is incredibly popular. The science is in. It's been in for a while. And you saw Canada recently legalize it. Have things gone crazy? No. So people want marijuana legalization. This is another no-brainer here. But you're not seeing support for that from Joe Biden. And again, this is another poll on marijuana legalization. This one's from Gallup. So the first one is from Pew Research. This is from Gallup. 66% supporting marijuana legalization. A no-brainer policy to support. But you're not going to get it from Joe Biden. So, look, when it comes to... There's a big difference between Republican voters and potential Democratic voters. Republican voters, they're going to vote for Trump regardless. It really doesn't matter what he says or does. I mean, how many are dead now from coronavirus? The complete disaster. Yet still, his support's intact. So, look, you can sit and complain and cry about that, but that's the reality. So what is the course of action in this reality? The course of action would be for Joe Biden to actually try and appeal to more people. Democratic voters, there is, a small base of them that are going to vote for Joe Biden regardless. And especially now, a lot of them are going to vote simply to vote against Donald Trump, which I think makes total sense. But the reality is it might not be enough. And because of that, the Joe Biden campaign has to work to reach other voters. Again, you can sit and complain about it and whine, oh, why can't people see that you have to vote for Joe to get rid of Trump? Okay, you can whine and complain, but that's not going to solve the problem. To actually solve the problem of getting Joe Biden the support that he needs, he has to come out to support big ideas, big policies that he is not currently supporting.